Hello, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Clank Joker. Welcome to another My Thoughts On. And today I'm going to be talking about the Simpsons movie, since today is actually the 13th anniversary of its UK release. And just before we get into today's My Thoughts On, I want to give you guys a recommendation of a cartoon. No, it's not The Simpsons. I mean, clearly you've all seen it by now. No, I'm talking about Clone High, which is the Phil Lord and Chris Miller animated adult series from the early 2000s. I watched this quite recently after the news of a reboot or a second series. I hope it's the former. I hope it's the first choice. But anyways, if you love the Lego Movie, if you love whatever these guys have done, they did the 22 Jump Street, they did Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, they did, well, technically they were part of Spider-Verse. If you love their work, if you love their films, you will absolutely enjoy Clone High. It's not perfect, however, it has cheap but nicely stylish animation. The voice acting is fucking amazing. The characters are all funny and memorable, some are relatable. It's hilarious, it's at times clever. You could argue this is a show that's kind of ahead of its time in a way. The show is about a high school with clones, like from all these like very popular historical figures like Abraham Lincoln, Gandhi, Joan of Arc, John F. Kennedy, you name it. Please give this a watch. All episodes of the show are actually on YouTube. And no, I don't mean as in it's like sped up or it's like zoomed in or it's got a different pitch. No, I mean it's actually on YouTube. All 13, I think, episodes in one video. I'll put a link down below so you guys can go and watch Clone High. I do recommend it. It's very, very good. Not perfect, since again the animation's very cheap looking, and it does have that Cartoon Network style, but it is good animation from 2002. So yeah, go watch it. Just trust me, it's really damn good. It's funny, and then Family Guy and all them rubbish adult shows. You won't regret it. So, the Simpsons Movie. I think we've all seen this film at least once or twice in our lives. Obviously, this is based on The Simpsons, one of the biggest and most popular animated shows of all time, and I think the longest running animated show of all time, and the longest show in general. So, what do I think of The Simpsons? It's the fucking Simpsons! I absolutely love The Simpsons. Well, I did. I think the show is funny, I think it's relevant, clever, the animation is, again, just like Clone High, nothing amazing, but it's good. I think the characters are strong, it's got great voice acting. It's just a great show. I mean, what else can you say about it? And yes, I am aware of the whole The Simpsons is not quite as good as it was. I get that, and I don't really watch it anymore. I remember I used to always watch it at tea time on Channel 4. Who remembers that? Because I do. Which also implies why there is a Channel 4 ident with The Simpsons. I'm not joking. It does exist. But since I've lost interest in The Simpsons, and I don't know if it's still playing on Channel 4, I think it is. I just watched The Chase, but yeah, I do really like The Simpsons. Not one of my personal favourites, but I will take it over Family Guy any day. Like, any day. Even the shit episodes of the newer series, even though I haven't watched them, I heard it's not as good, I would watch that over Family Guy any day. And when this film was, like, marketed, and when the trailers came out, this film was pretty huge when it came out. I don't know if it did well. I mean, it probably did, judging by how they're thinking about doing a sequel, which I don't think is really necessary, but it could be like a SpongeBob situation where it could end up being good, but not quite as great as the first film. I did see the film when it came out. I remember really liking it. This was back when. So, if you live in the UK, you probably heard of this cinema called The Light. If you haven't, you should. It's a very good cinema. So the Light at my local Cambridge area, the one I go to all the time, there used to be a Cineworld there, and I would go there all the time. Absolutely loved it. It had like arcade machines up there. God, it really makes me miss being a kid because all this stuff was great, and the Cineworld as well. It's like absolutely wonderful. And I remember I always used to see the trailer for this film like on the little television screens up there. Am I the only one that notices that? Like the Simpsons movie, I remember like Surf's Up, I think, Transformers, all those films. I remember seeing a lot of that on and The View as well. God, this is taking me way back. So yeah, this film was a pretty big hit when it came out, I think. I think critics really liked it, audiences really liked it. I really enjoyed it when it came out. And at the time, I guess you could say it's overrated. But nowadays, despite how big and successful and well received it is, people don't really seem to talk about it, which I find that really odd and suspicious a little. So, it's actually been a really long time since I've watched it. I've seen clips of it now and then. The last time I watched it was in secondary school. I remember watching it back then and I was like, it's alright now. It's not as good as I remember it being. But has it changed? Well, let's have a look at the story. So this is about Homer, Marge, Bart, Lisa and Maggie, obviously. However, the big story, I mean there is a few, but I'll get to them in a minute, is about Homer wasting some, I don't remember what it was like pig crap. This was after he got the pig from Krusty Burger named Spider Pig, and I think it was Harry Plopper. I don't know. He decides just to get rid of some like wastage and he decides to drop it off in the lake, which then leaves Springfield, the town of Springfield, in total lockdown. And I'm not just saying that because of what's happening now. I mean literally. The main man behind the EPA, or as Grandpa would say, EPA. The main man behind it, named I think Ross Cargill. He's voiced by Albert Brooks, and he decides to put the whole town of Springfield underneath this dome, since he doesn't want the toxic waste to go into town. However, he has bigger plans. I won't say what. It does kind of spoil the film, but knowing what role this character, who's only in this film and he doesn't even appear in any episodes as far as I'm concerned, you'll know what he does. So it's up to Homer to fix his little mistake. Despite how goofy and naive he is, he can still do some right, and after the whole town of Springfield actually comes after him and he's on the run, him and the family have to move out. At the same time, Marge starts having a little bit of doubt over Homer, since he can be a bit dim-witted and naive, and he sometimes doesn't seem to acknowledge Marge or Bart. Bart seems to find more of a father figure in Ned Flanders, and Lisa's more close to the plot where she wants to save the environment with this other man named Colin, and she has a little crush on him, and he's from Ireland. Maggie is just there for comedy purposes, and that's it. Strengths. I'll give the film this, and this is something I rarely see in films based. Well, I wouldn't say this is based on the series. It's more like a continuous story, like Aqua Teen Hunger Force. This is more like an episode of the series, but longer. However, unlike Aqua Teen Hunger Force, Colin movie film for theatres, mouthful, the story and the theme actually has higher risks, and it does more than just tell a simple story. Usually these sorts of films is about the characters even trying to stop the main character from destroying a building or trying to save someone or something. I mean, in this case, it is, but it's a whole town. And unlike the villains in those films, like Postman Pat the movie, Top Cat the movie, the villain actually has a reason, I think, and the villain's actually funny and interesting, even though he is kind of one-dimensional. Anyways, the story takes risks and the stakes are higher, so you actually have a reason to get into the story, and it's interesting. There is an environmental message, but it's not entirely shoved down our throats. It's just kind of there, like, it's not saying, please acknowledge me. You know it's there, but you want to see these characters actually make it through. And another theme is focusing on Homer and Marge's relationship. Again, whether Marge actually thinks what Homer's doing is good, I mean, it isn't. And Homer being a dumb-witted character thinking that they should stay in Alaska. Not really a spoiler. I'm pretty sure everyone's seen the film by now, but they moved to Alaska and they moved there after a very clever tactic to get out of the dome. Homer has to decide whether he should stay where it's safe or actually help the people he cares about. Granted, the choice he has to make isn't much, and he has to. I mean, one is important than the other, but their relationship and their marriage is something that really has this very strong emotion in this film. I mean, there will be a happy ending, but you do kind of want to see how this all ends. The film, I'll admit, is very funny. Although there were a few times where it did get a little bit tedious, like the whole Harry Plopper bit. I mean, I didn't mind Spider Pig. Spider Pig was quite funny, and even the theme song from Hans Zimmer is epic. But Harry Plopper, that was like, okay, you're kind of making this a little bit tiresome with these pig puns and all that. Now and then the humour can drag on a little bit, and there are a few like cringy moments, but not many. Most of it is solid, clever, and the visual gags are just as funny as they are in the show. The humour is still classic Simpsons humour, and that's what I love. The other subplots are not as important, although I think the one with Bart I think is interesting, so it shows that Homer actually cares about Bart. I mean, he does, but he seems to be more focused on the pig and donuts, which is kind of the main reason why he wanted to throw that wastage in the sewer so he can get some donuts. And that's interesting. The stuff with Lisa is cute. It's nothing interesting, or it doesn't really... Heck, even Lisa and Colin's relationship doesn't really go anywhere. Granted, they do kind of hang out, but knowing films based on shows, I doubt the character will return in the series, which is weird. So, I mean, the main plot is just Homer trying to save Springfield, and everything else is it is kind of related to the character. One is him trying to be a better dad, and the other one actually trying to do something that's worth saving than just sitting around and doing nothing. And his marriage and relationship with Marge, of course. I will admit, the story is actually better written and it actually has higher stakes. It would have gone with the whole, again, stopping the bad guy from destroying a building or a place they love, like fucking... Most of these films that are based on shows usually do that, which I don't understand. Top Cat, Postman Pat, Mrs. Brown's Boys, I'm trying to think what else. You know what I mean. At least this one actually does more than your usual dumb, this is based on the movie. Also, I hate when titles have, Big Boulder, the movie. I hate that. I hate those sorts of movie titles. At least this is called The Simpsons Movie. And there's like the Shaun the Sheep movie or Shaun the Sheep movie. I don't know why I think titles like that are better than just, I don't know, Simpsons, the movie. I'm so tired of that, I guess, cliche for a film title. Anyways, I'm getting a little bit off track. I'm genuinely surprised to say that the story and the themes of this film actually work well together. It's emotional, it's funny, it's action-packed, it's clever, it's interesting, it gets you right into what's going on. And also, I'll say this, kind of like B-Movie, which came out in the same year, I'm surprised that the film has something in it that genuinely surprises me by how much it got away with things. I'm sure you all know the famous scene where Bart does the dare that Homer tells him to skateboard naked to Krusty Krab, to Krusty Burger, Krusty Krab. Never mind. There are things in this film like that because you do actually see his penis, and um, they do, and the use of profanity is actually a lot higher than I remember. The Simpsons did have profanity, but not by much. And for a film that's a PG, I don't know whether to say that the film is doing something that's actually more risky, or it should have been. If it was like a 12, I would have been okay with, but I'm okay with a PG. But I mean, Jesus Christ, the amount of profanity and the amount of I know the scene with Bart is only like a few seconds long, but Jesus Christ, it's kind of insane. I wouldn't be surprised if this film got controversy, and to my knowledge, I don't think it has, but I could be wrong. But at the same time, I do like when films actually do take it a little bit further. Sometimes it can work, sometimes it can't. But here, it's kind of a right balance. And although I am a little bit concerned if kids watch this and they look at, I mean, even when I was young, when I heard, when Flanders said penis and his two children said something penis. I remember actually saying it in primary school, and then one of the teachers, I just remember saying, that's something you say in the bath. This film has actually left kind of an impact on me than I thought. Anyways, good story, well crafted, it's well written, it's very funny for the most part, it has the right emotions, it's action packed. It has everything to make a Simpsons movie more bigger and more, well, movie worthy. Animation. If there's one thing that this film actually does the best at, and I mean most things this film does is very well done, but it's actually the animation. I don't think The Simpsons actually had this animation quality at the time. I think it was still like, I think it was like it was a little bit, it was different. And to see a film from the television and getting this better quality is something else. The animation is probably the best that The Simpsons, and I don't just mean the film, but the series in general, has. The characters still look like themselves, but they do have a certain nice quality to them that makes it look movie-worthy. The backgrounds still look like regular Springfield. At times, there's actually 3D animation that works in the universe of the Simpsons movie, or the Simpsons in general, of course. The characters and the way they talk and the way they move, they still remain the same. Well, unlike Aqua Teen Hunger Force, where the characters' movement remained stationary at times and stiff, the characters do actually go a little bit further with their movement and their designs in a way. They still look the same, and the scenes where Homer meets the boob lady is some of the most creative animation I've seen. It's very fluent and very bright. It is a very genuinely nicely animated film. I don't really have any issues for the animation. I think it's great quality, and I think it's the best that this series had to offer in terms of great looking visuals. Characters and acting. Homer is still just a lovable, dim-witted, naive husband and father. He's still funny and goofy and very likable. He goes through a big character arc where he has to prove to Springfield that he can do more than what he could, and to also fix his mistakes and also try to keep the family safe, even though he can be a little bit off topic. He's still likable, and you still love him, and you even care for him when it comes down to saving Springfield. Marge also goes through the biggest character development, in a way, with Homer. Their chemistry in the film is just as strong as it is in the series, and even the emotional stuff can actually work quite well. Bart is still the mischievous boy of the family, and he still can have his quirks, and even at one point he was kind of the voice of reason to Homer. Lisa's still herself, even though her subplot is kind of naff in a way, but at least as little screen time these two subplots have with Bart and Lisa, at least they are kind of connected to what Homer's supposed to do and what his characters and what he's supposed to learn from. Um, Everyone else in the film is pretty much everyone we know from Springfield. I won't name them all because I think we all know about most of them. Barney, Moe, Reverend Lovejoy, um, Peace, Chief Wiggum, Dr. Hilbert, Apu, uh, Principal Skinner, Mr. Burns. All these characters just play are either background characters or comedic characters, and they all do great jobs. As always, because they're always funny and they always have more. I mean, it's understandable why they don't play a big part because most of their character development and their personalities are in the show, but in a film it doesn't quite matter if they're explored. If not, then you can't really unbalance it. The other character that I can only think of that's significant to the plot is Russ Cargill, I think. He's the main villain. Oh, sorry. Did I say that? I mean, what did you expect from this character? He's basically the main villain of the film who wants to do something for Springfield. I mean, he's not a particularly strong villain, but I think he's threatening enough, and I think he's pretty entertaining, of course. And Tom Hanks and Green Day are in this film. They don't play anybody, they just play themselves. Yeah. The voice acting is still fantastic. Obviously, you got Dan Casarata? I can't pronounce his name. He's the voice of Homer, as always. He's still great. Nancy Cartwright, she can still play some great kid actors, of course. I'm trying to think. I can't remember who else played who. Julia Kavnera is Marge. And then Yeardley Smith is Lisa. They're still playing themselves. They're still having a great time with their performances. Obviously, because they've been playing these, voicing these characters for a very long time. And you've got others like Tress McNally, Hank Azaria, Harry Shearer. I can't really name all of them, but yeah, all of them play their respective characters, and they're all just as great as each other. Albert Brooks is great as always. He was Merlin in Finding. He was, Marlin in Finding Nemo and Dory. He was Tiberius in Secret Life of Pets. Tom Hanks is in this, and here's the weird thing. Hear me out. I actually always, besides Woody, I thought Tom Hanks would always voice Marlin. Because for some reason, I don't know if it's just me, but Albert Brooks and Tom Hanks sound alike. I know this has nothing to do with the film, despite the fact that they're both in it, but they both sound very, very similar. Anyways, the old characters are still enjoyable as themselves. Russ Cargill is a pretty great addition to the film, even though he's not strong. And the voice acting's phenomenal, so what else do you want with these characters? They're still just being themselves. Some actually do more and have big development, like the main Simpsons family, of course. They're still just one great, great cast of characters from Springfield. On a side note, Hans Zimmer does the score for the film, which I know he is a bit of an overrated choice. I love Hans Zimmer too. His score in the film is fucking fantastic. It feels big, it feels cinematic. His theme for the Spider Pig is amazing. It's very booming, it's very orchestrated, it's wonderful. His music is really great here, probably one of his best. I know that sounds weird because he also did Kung Fu Panda and Madagascar. The guy is freaking great. Wow. Not gonna lie, I actually like this film the more than I last saw it. Okay, it's not fantastic, but I did really like the film, and I still do. The Simpsons movie may not be a perfect animated film, but I would probably say it's probably one of the best films based on a show, along with the SpongeBob SquarePants movie, My Little Pony the movie, the Rugrats 1 and 2, and I can't think of any others. The story has higher risks, it has different themes, and it actually does something a lot bigger than your average film based on a TV series. The comedy, while at times can be a bit tedious and a bit cringy, most of it is quite solid, funny, and clever. It has great emotion, especially with Homer and Marge. The animation has a big upgrade. All the characters that we know and love from Springfield still remain as themselves. The main Simpsons cast characters, they still, they still, they're still being themselves, but they are having their moment to shine. The voice acting is fantastic, and the score by Hans Zimmer is really surprising. If you're a big fan of The Simpsons, do give this a watch. If you're just a very casual fan of The Simpsons, I do recommend this film to pretty much everyone. Animation fans, Simpsons fans, film fans. I don't really know anyone who hasn't watched The Simpsons, but if you haven't, and if you watch this film wanting to get, wanting to know more about it, you're not really going to find it here. However, if you can still watch it even if you're not a fan of the series, even though I do recommend the series also, at least the early series. It is still a lot of fun to watch. I mean, yeah, it's cringy and sometimes the adult stuff can go a little far. Like again, they show a penis and they actually use more profanity in the film than the series, which is kind of odd, but I'm okay with it. So while I don't think it's a perfect film, I legit really like this film. It's the best that The Simpsons has to offer since the early series, and Hit and Run, and the game. I would probably give this I guess an 8.6 out of 10. It's not fantastic, but I actually like this more than I disliked it. Even though I didn't dislike the film at all, I actually really like it. And if they make a sequel, not really a good idea, but hey, can't complain. So yeah, oof, the Simpsons movie. Wow, not gonna lie, I actually remember pretty much about 90 to maybe 95% of the scenes. Whenever a character does something and whenever a scene pops up, I'm like, yep, I remember that. I think I watched this film like maybe 4 or 5 times in my lifetime. It's just a big nostalgic, great film. I really, really like it. And this was kind of back when 2D animated films were kind of weren't really a thing anymore. Of course, 3D was like nailing and just hitting all the right marks. And this was also kind of back where Fox family films were a bit mixed. The stuff with Blue Sky is all good and fine, but Alvin and the Chipmunks was Oh, and Garfield was bottom of the barrel. Also, one more thing. I know I keep talking about this film, but there is a lot that I do remember about it. Right, someone please tell me this, but who actually remembers the teaser? There was a teaser for the film that had like an animated 3D bunny. I mean, it's a great teaser. Who else found it a bit creepy? I mean, not now, since I'm used to it. I mean, when you were like quite young. Is it just me, or did I find that trailer a bit creepy with the nutcracker music and the nice looking but kind of creepy 3D animation? It's well done, but it is a bit creepy. Anyways, I know there probably are a few people who have the same reaction, but yeah. So yeah, next up, I'm probably gonna do another request in my thoughts on. Don't know what it is yet, but you will soon know once I upload it. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe. And until next time,